You are listening to Realign Your Life podcast, where I discuss with you strategies on how to realign your life and move towards the direction you always want to. I am Vivian, the host of this podcast, and every week I will bring value on how to improve and realign your life either through a guest or my thoughts. I can't wait to share what we have this week. It's time to realign your life. Welcome back to Realign Your Life podcast, where we discuss strategies on how to realign your life and move towards the direction you always want to. I am Vivian, the host of this podcast and a life coach, and I am excited to discuss with you the topics we have for the upcoming podcast episodes. Most recently, we began to talk about how do we realign our lives and replenish our energy. Are you pouring out of an empty cup? And if that's so, you are not living your best life. So we want to delve into that topic of how do we realign ourselves and how do we replenish our energy? Remember, we talked about how that flight attendant says to you, the first thing that you need to do is put the oxygen on yourself before you put it on the other passenger. There is no way that you can pour into yourself or into another and be effective and get the results that you're looking for if you're completely depleted. We talked about the importance of self-care and what that looked like. It's not all about pampering yourself, even though we can say taking care of yourself is pampering yourself. Remember, as believers of the Christian faith, the Bible tells us that we are to love the Lord our God with all of our hearts, our souls, and our mind, and we're to love others as we love ourselves. We cannot forget that last part of loving ourselves. So how do we reassess and set up some priorities and some boundaries that will help us in realigning and replenishing ourselves? You know, for me, I have really serious issues sometimes with doing that, with setting those priorities and setting those boundaries. And many of us, if you're like myself, are people pleasers. And we have to assess, why are we doing the things that we're doing? Is that really important for us? Is that really going to get us to those core values that we so often have talked about and the goals that we're looking for? If we don't set those boundaries and those priorities, we're not going to be living our best lives. And remember, you are a masterpiece. You are created for great works that have already been set out for you. But if we get out of our lane and begin doing things that we're not called to do, we're not going to be able to live our best lives. And I know that's what we're all searching for. So you have to think about it this way. Replenishing yourself is an ongoing process. It requires intentional effort and attention. It means taking care of our physical, our mental, and our emotional health. That includes assessing those priorities and setting those boundaries that aligns with your values and your goals. What are you looking to do? What is it that you really want to accomplish? What is your purpose here in this life? There are lots of good things, and we can be involved in lots of good things. But all good things are not necessarily where we need to be or where we need to be putting all of our focus and our attentions. If we do that, and when we do that, we'll find that we can find balance in our life, and our lives can be a lot more fulfilling when we set those boundaries and we set those priorities. So we know that today's life is fast-paced. It's fast-paced, and it's so easy to get caught up in that rat race of trying to accomplish more, trying to be more, or trying to have more. We get caught up in that, quote, American dream. However, if we don't take time to prioritize our mental and our physical health, we are going to risk burnout and losing that ability to perform at our best. How many of you have been in that situation or found yourself there? Or is it someone within your circle that you know that have crashed? It's so easy to do. And it happens before you even know it. That's why taking care of yourself has to be a priority. You've got a lot to give. You're blessed. Remember, you're blessed. You're anointed. You have a story to tell. And if you don't tell your story, somebody else will do it for you. And it won't be the right story. It may not have the ending that you know it should have. So remember, once again, you are in this world for purpose. Purpose. We all have purpose. So that's why it's so important to prioritize. Remember, you cannot pour out of an empty cup. Your cup needs to be overflowing. And that's what you give out. You give out of the overflow. So in today's episode, I really want to share some thoughts that I have on prioritizing self-care and the importance of setting those boundaries. Ask yourself these questions. Are you simply trying to maintain the status quo? Are you spending your time and your energy on things that don't matter and are not getting you any closer to the goal? Are there areas in your life where you could make some changes to find more fulfillment and to be a lot more satisfied and create more time? Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the first steps in reassessing priorities to take stock of what is really important to us. I've had to do that. And I'm in process of doing exactly that. Setting priorities is a critical skill that helps you to manage your time more efficiently and effectively and to really achieve those goals that we're all going for. So here are a few steps that I would recommend on how to set those priorities. And I'm working on these same things myself. Remember, we're on this journey together. Define your goals. What is it that you really, really want to do? What is that thing that is really important to you that you are willing to put the work in for? Because before you can set priorities, you need to have a very clear understanding of what it is that you want to achieve. You want to identify some short-term and some long-term goals, and you want to write them down. And some short-term goals can be something that you want to accomplish in the next 30 to 60 days. Long-term goals can look at a year out. You've heard of people talking about 5-year goals, but if this is something new for you, make it workable. Make it workable for you. A year out may be a long-term goal for you. 6 months could be a long-term goal. Evaluate the importance and the urgency of the tasks. And once you have your goals defined, you want to evaluate those tasks that need to be done in order to achieve those goals. What's the most important ones? Which are the ones that are most urgent for you? You might want to create a list, or you might want to organize according to the importance and the urgency of something. There are multiple tools out there that you can use in order to help you to do that. If you are a list maker, make sure that you make out lists. But you've got to do something. One of the tools that is out there that may be very helpful to you is the Eisenhower matrix. And this is a tool that really helps you to prioritize tasks. And it's broken down into four categories. And I've used this, and I use this in my business practice, in corporate practice, but now I find I can use that same tool to set priorities in my personal life. So this is how it looks. The 4 categories are urgent and important. These are things that we need to do right now. So for example, urgent and is important. If you've got an illness or something has happened to you and you need to make a doctor's appointment, that's urgent and that's important. So you would put that under that category. Or say it's a deadline that you need to meet, maybe for your work, or this is a goal that you have set and this needs to be done now. Maybe it's getting money in your bank account. That's urgent and important before you have a shortfall there. The next is important, but not urgent. These are things that you can schedule. Say, for instance, like your exercise, regular exercise. So I know that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that I am going to go to the gym. So these are things that I can put on a schedule. They are important, but they're not urgent. The next category is urgent, but not important. These are things that you can delegate. Say if you've got kids or other family members in the house, you can delegate them specific tasks that they are assigned to do. You don't have to do everything, or pay a housekeeper to do that. Or if there's something that you need to get done very quickly, you might want to hire a professional to help you with that task. And then there is not urgent and not important. These are things that you can completely and totally eliminate. That's things like watching too much TV or browsing the internet or social media. Are those things going to get you closer to your goal? If they're not important and they're not urgent. So you take those off your list. Let's look at that again. Urgent and important, those are things that you do now. Important and urgent, those are things that you can schedule. Urgent, but not important, those are things that you can delegate. Not urgent and not important, eliminate them. Eliminate them. So use that tool to help you to begin to set some priorities in your life. And then you want to focus on those most important things, those things that are at that top of that list, those urgent and important, and those things that are important and urgent. That's where you want to really focus the bulk of your time and your energy. But I want you to remember to be flexible, because our priorities can change and unexpected things can come up. And we know that can happen. Murphy's Law. I am in the middle of that right now, dealing with a project that I'm working on now. But I know I've got to be flexible. Things can happen. Death can happen. We don't know the number of days. That's why it's important for us to get moving. We cannot be in park. We cannot be in neutral. We need to move. When the Lord tells you to do something, and I hear so many people say, Lord told me to do this, Lord, and you ain't done it yet. Okay, get moving, but also be flexible. And there are times that you have to review and adjust. Looking at your goals and your tasks and those things that are important to you, you need to review them and prioritize them and adjust them as necessary. So when something comes up unexpectedly, you have to wiggle and move it around. This will allow you and to help you to stay on track and ensure that you are making the progress toward that goal that you want to make. That's important. So hopefully you can use some of these strategies and some of these tips to get you started on setting those priorities and getting closer and closer to reaching your goals and making sure that you're replenishing yourself and that you are pouring from a full cup. So now we've identified those priorities and those things that are important to us, those things that we want to establish to get closer to our goals. And we're going to talk about goal setting and what that looks like and how we can begin to make those SMART goals in an upcoming episode. So keep your hat on and keep listening to Realign Your Life podcast. Remember that setting priorities is not just about managing your time. It's also about managing your energy and your focus. Prioritizing your tasks can help you to stay motivated and focus on what is most important to you. And that leads us into setting boundaries. Setting boundaries. I'm telling you, for some of us, that can be a real challenge. But I'm telling you, it is a necessity. It's important to set boundaries around your time and your energy. If not, you can get eaten alive. Been there, wore the t-shirt, and don't want it anymore. It is an essential part of self-care and maintaining some healthy relationships. And so many relationships have been lost because we are afraid to speak up and to set those boundaries that are so important. But when we establish boundaries, we're telling ourselves and others what we will and will not accept into our lives. This is your life. Boundaries can give us a sense of control and allow us to realign and replenish ourselves. This means saying no to things and people that don't align with our values and taking breaks when it is necessary. You know, we really do teach people how to treat us. And if we come across of every time anybody tells us to jump and we ask them, hi, and we know that jumping is not our jam, we haven't set the proper boundaries. It can be challenging, very challenging to set these boundaries, especially, as I said earlier, when we're people pleaser. Examine, why are you doing this? What is it that you are seeking? Is it something that you need to have a talk with yourself, or do you need help with that? Remember, if you need help, ask for it. I'm a life coach, and if you need help in this category, I'm here to help you walk through that. It's crucial to understand that boundaries are not selfish, and they don't mean that you don't care about people and you don't care about others. That's not what it's all about. But instead, it means that you're taking care of yourself and you're creating a healthy environment for all of your relationships. That's important. And here are some tips that you can use for setting boundaries with others and realigning and replenishing yourself. Number one, you need to make sure that you are, first of all, identifying your boundaries. Before you can even set a boundary, you need to know what they are. Take some time to reflect on what is important to you and what you are willing and not willing to compromise on. Write them down so you can refer to them often. Communicate your boundaries. Once you've identified your boundaries, it's important to communicate them clearly to the people in your life. Once again, you teach people how to treat you. You want to be honest and direct about what you need and why that's important to you. Remember that setting boundaries is not about controlling others, but it's about taking care of yourself. Stick to your boundaries. Let your yes be yes and your nays, nay. Stick to it. You can't be seesawing back and forth. It's easy to let others cross your boundaries, but it's essential for you to stick to them. When someone crosses a boundary, it's important to communicate to them and to reinforce the importance of why that is important to you. Remember, you're not unreasonable. You're just taking care of yourself. Practice self-care. That's what this is all about. It's self-care. There is so much mental breakdown going because people are not taking care of themselves. I've been there. When I have not taken care of myself and I have not set up those necessary boundaries, it can really wreck relationships. So it's really important to set those boundaries and to take care of yourself and to take time to do things that will bring you joy and peace. It could be reading a book. It could be taking a walk outside. It could be taking a nice hot bubble bath. It could be any of those things. Whatever brings you joy, whatever brings you a sense of peace. Prioritizing self-care helps you to maintain your boundaries and to keep them strong, because now you are really focused on yourself. And then you want to evaluate your boundaries. As you grow and change, your boundaries may change. We are all in different seasons of our lives at different times. And in this season of life, the boundary that I had previously may not work in this season, and vice versa. So it's important that we evaluate our boundaries from time to time, remembering that setting boundaries is a process. And it's okay. It's really okay for you to make changes as you go along. Because remember, this is your life. And you are the one that's realigning it. You can't live another person's life and they can't live yours. This is yours. And you only get one shot at it. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's a necessary part of taking care of yourself. In conclusion, and finishing up this episode today, simply assessing your priorities, identifying, communicating, sticking to it, and regularly evaluating your priorities, you'll be able to avoid burnout and perform at your very best. You'll also be realigning and replenishing yourself. And that's what it's all about. That's what makes this journey so beautiful and so enjoyable. You're not doing it all alone. And just remember, taking care of ourselves is not a luxury, but a necessity for living a happy and fulfilled life. A life that has been designed especially for you. And that should be a priority for you. I want to thank you for listening to today's episode. If you found it helpful, please share it with others who you think might benefit from this information. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. Share this podcast with others, and don't forget that you are important and that you have the gift and the ability to realign your life. Well, until next time, much peace and love. I'll see you next episode. Bye. I hope hope you enjoyed this episode. The best gift that you could give me is to share this podcast with family and friends. And don't forget to review it. That way, this podcast will grow organically. If you need to reach out to me, please check out my Facebook page, DM me there, or you can email me at godskow@gmail.com. We have upcoming Bible studies that we would love for you to join us in, or if there is a guest or someone that you would like to see me interview on this podcast, please let me know. We are here to work together to realign our lives. Until the next episode, take care, and I look forward to sharing more and more with you as we realign our lives. Peace until next week.